Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie joining us now from Dublin. And Dougie, I'm just looking at the figures. 4.1 billion euros now, 6.9 billion euros 2023, so 11 billion in total. But they're saying actually that the tax figures mean that they won't necessarily have to borrow the money to do this.
Well, I have looked at those facts and figures as well, and it's very, very hard to project into the future, particularly in the current world markets. I mean, we have the prices of grain hiking because of Ukraine, and we look at the flood damage in Pakistan, what that will do to food prices. And we're also looking at a lot of the stuff here in and around green policies. But behind us, of course, this is the last budget for this particular Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, because he'll hand the reins over to Leo Varadkar because it is a coalition minority government. So that may cause a few problems and stirs in amongst the next year, 12 months. I don't think that it's really noted by a whole lot of economists here that it's a wise thing to be borrowing at this or projecting that far into the future with that much money. They are one of the few European countries that have a surplus return this year, but it is a very, very fine line, and they are trying to keep those people in work by giving a lot of healthy tax cuts to small businesses, corner shops. You can imagine running freezers and stuff with food, the prices, and they're trying to keep that all down and keep it on the wraps. And they may do it, but when we look at this budget as it cuts now, there are things coming in it like child under 16 hospital fees and stuff being waived. We don't have that problem in Great Britain because we have a national health. So there's lots of social issues coming into play here. There was €12 on a pension and 12 euros on everyday benefits. So it's not that much to the everyday Joe and Josephine in the street, but it does equate to an awful lot in a budget that's a very, very small economy when you look at it in the European scale. It also causes problems then for the euro and the pound dropping to near parity, that we will then have another problem because of the protocol. We have about 20% onto our costs already, 2.5% on tariffs of steel coming into Northern Ireland, and all of a sudden the protocol is acting very, very badly for Northern Ireland at that stage because it's having to compete in this market. And of course, if your money goes down, well, it means that you will buy more local goods, of course. But Britain doesn't manufacture that much. Ireland has done in the last 2 years. It has started to manufacture a lot of its own goods. It's one of the few European countries to do it, and I think there's a lesson to be learned there.
Yeah, the Celtic tiger economy, as they call it. I'm just looking at the sort of political messages coming out as well, in the statement saying that they had to help with the cost of living pressures, but also not making them worse by adding fuel to the inflationary fire. A rather different story to what we're hearing here in London.
Yes, well, they have done something here so as they're not getting hit by coming through the eye of the storm and then the back end of the storm whipping them. So what they have done is, as I alluded to there, was they put more pressure on the public sector. They're making the public sector work harder instead of giving out more benefits and then putting that inflationary pressure on, which will drive up the cost of wages and drive everything else up and hit them on the way through. What they're trying to do is soften that blow by putting more onto the public sector, and they're looking at things like child tax credits for child care, but they're also looking at trying to get free school books in. They don't have that here, of course we do in Britain, and they're trying to soften everything that will take out of your family budget, the family purse, and decide, well, if we can soften that by getting the public sector to do that, we don't have to put up wages there, and we don't have to pay more benefits because we're actually saving on it. I suppose it's a bit like looking at your house and saying, well, do I really need Sky TV? Do I really need the second car? Do I really need 3 TVs in the house? And that's pretty much what they're doing here. It isn't a bad fiscal policy, but you've got to remember that the Republic of Ireland is part of the EU. It runs in the euro, and therefore it has no policy on interest rates, and that could hurt it very badly.
Yeah, get rid of the Sky News, but keep the GB News and the 3 TVs. Yeah.